Just getting started here on a Meat Friday. Ross Tucker, the former journeyman offensive lineman turned NFL broadcaster in the big chair for Dan today with the Danettes. No TV game for me this weekend. I had doubleheader last weekend. Saturday I did Army at Air Force. Sunday I did Chargers Titans, but there's several buys, so I don't have a TV game. I will be in the booth with Kevin Harlan Monday night for the Packers and the Eagles on Westwood One. We'll talk about that a little bit later because Lambeau is by far my favorite NFL stadium. We got to get into a little bit of a bucket list conversation. Hit me up on social. Hit us up, I should say, at DP Show, at Ross Tucker NFL. Would love to know which stadium, which venues are on your bucket list. We're going to get to my guy, Greg Cosell, who's an absolute legend from NFL films momentarily. But, Seton, what are we thinking right now for the poll question?
Well, there's only one poll question when you're in.
What's that?
What do you got? Dijon, honey, spicy, or yellow?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Wow.
Ooh,
Dijon, honey, spicy, or yellow?
I just got dizzy.
That is great because I need to talk about my incident.
I'm positive that's why Greg
here.
Cosell is on today, by the way, is to break down this poll question and then do football.
You know what? Greg seems to me like a Dijon guy. Like, pardon me, Mr. Cosell, but do you have any Grey Poupon? All right, Greg is what I'm looking for. Mako wants to send you to Super Week. Give your car a paint job and more. Visit danpatrick.com to enter daily for a chance to win and get official rules. No purchase necessary. Void in Alaska. Sorry, Alaska. Hawaii and where prohibited. Open to contiguous, that's a cool word, U.S. D.C. residents 18 and over. Ends 11/23/25. He joins me every Thursday and Friday on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and yet that's still not enough. This guy's been working at NFL Films for 46 years. He loves football, and I love him. Check him out on social media, at Greg Cosell. Greg, great to see you, always here in a different venue. I think a lot of people are familiar with your outstanding work, the NFL Matchup Show on ESPN, ESPN2, the next couple of days. I guess we got to get your thoughts on the poll question first, Greg. I know that this is why you break down the tape. Spicy mustard, yellow mustard, honey mustard, or Dijon mustard?
I think I'm a golden spicy brown kind of guy, Ross.
Yes, I knew it. I knew it. Yes.
I'm not a Grey Poupon guy. I can't remember the last time I ever had Grey Poupon, but you know, that's way above my investment portfolio, you know.
I love the fact, just so everybody knows, I talk to this guy at least once a week, now twice a week. I've never talked with Greg about mustard before. And not only did he say spicy, he shouted out my favorite spicy brown mustard, Golden's. He gave it the actual name brand. Gosh, this show is going so well so far. All right, we'll get to more of the mustard talk a little bit later. I guess here's my first question, Greg. After watching that game last night.
Oh, you did, huh?
Yes.
I feel badly for you.
Well,
I went to bed early, Ross, because I was at the gym at 10:05 this morning, so I didn't see much of that game.
Well, I know you'll break down the film later, so that's why I'm not going to specifically ask you about last night. But when you look at, for example, the Broncos and the Patriots, they both only have 2 losses. Where are you right now with Bo Nix and Drake May? In other words, have you seen enough from either one of those guys to think, you know what? They might be able to do it in a playoff game against Josh Allen and the Bills or Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. What have you seen from those 2 guys, you know, in particular, Nix and May?
Well, if we want to start with May, I think May has played consistently far better than Nix has. May has just better traits overall too. I mean, I've had the ability to stand next to both guys. May is just a big man, and he plays the game effortlessly, easily. You know, one of the things that I was taught years ago, and actually I think it was a conversation I had with Phil Simms years ago, when you watch a quarterback and they throw it so easily, May looks effortless throwing the ball, effortless down the field, and it's just easy for him to throw it. And one thing I think has really stood out this year, and you're never sure about this till you get to the NFL, Ross, is his ability to move within the pocket. You don't see a lot of that in college because it's not usually that necessary in college football to play like that. But in the NFL, pockets get squeezed, there's more bodies around you. How a quarterback reacts to that is something that I really evaluate carefully. And I think that pocket movement is a really important trait, and May has really shown that trait. Nick's, on the other hand, I think has been very, very inconsistent. I think that his ball location has at times been good and has at times left something to be desired. You're almost, and you hate to say this about a quarterback, and I like Bo Nix overall, but he's almost at the point now where sometimes you're just not certain what you're going to get with Bo Nix. And obviously he's had these big fourth quarter comebacks, but you don't want to live like that. You want more consistency from play one to play 70, and that hasn't been the case with him for much of this season.
I'm curious about that. When you're breaking down the tape and you see these guys play their best in the fourth quarter or in the last couple minutes, what do you make out of that?
Well, you have to look at the reason why. What kind of plays are they making? If Bo Nix has made a number of plays in the fourth quarter where it's been one on fade balls, and he's made a very good throw, and then Cortland Sutton has gone up against good coverage and made a catch. Obviously that play counts, and it's a good job by both guys. He did make a great play. I remember specifically against the Eagles where he made a great read and a great throw to I believe it was Sutton on a 3rd and 15, maybe, if memory serves me correctly. And that was a really big time throw with great timing and anticipation and ball location. But I think you always have to look at the plays themselves. And that to me is just like interceptions. You always have to look at interceptions as individual plays, not as a number on a stat sheet. You've got to look at the plays. I think that Nix has made, obviously, they've come back in games, and he's certainly made throws, and he uses his legs extremely well. We saw that. Who did they It was the Giants, right? The Giants where they had that crazy comeback and scored 33 in the fourth quarter. And you have to look at all those plays as individual plays, not just say, "Wow, they came back." That's the way I go about it anyway.
It's funny, by the way. You think about some of the rookie quarterbacks that are playing right now, Jackson Dart and
Yeah,
Cam Ward, and obviously now Tyler Shuck, and maybe they're not in great situations. Greg, I called a couple Patriots games last year, and they might have had the worst O-line and the worst receiving core, and I still thought Drake May look good. So you can still look good as a quarterback. The other teams I wanted to ask you about.
Well, just one quick point, if I could.
Yeah.
When you evaluate, I learned this from people smarter than I am at back quarterback play, going back to Bill Walsh. When you evaluate a quarterback, Ross, you have to evaluate him separately from the circumstances. You have to isolate on the traits of the quarterback. We know that certain teams don't have great receivers, or certain teams may not have a great run game. That's all fine. That has nothing to do with how a quarterback plays the position of quarterback. You have to isolate the quarterback and separate him from the rest of the team. That's how you evaluate a quarterback. You understand that, hey, maybe he's not throwing to great guys, but that doesn't dictate how he goes about playing the position of quarterback.
All right, well, let's evaluate a couple of other quarterbacks because, again, looking at the top of the standings, I see the 7-2 Indianapolis Colts, and I see the 6-2 Seattle Seahawks. And Greg, no matter who I talk to, they are not going to believe in Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold until they actually see those guys win a playoff game. What are you seeing? Are you seeing enough that the rest of us should buy in and should believe that these teams are real?
And I don't think of it like that, Ross. Like, when people say, are these teams for real? All I know is what we have up to this point and how these teams play. So if you look at the Colts, and by the way, Daniel Jones made some really good throws this past week, even though they lost to the Steelers, and he had to drop back 55 times, which, as you know, no coach wants a quarterback to drop back 55 times in a game. He had 26 dropbacks alone in the fourth quarter. And as I said, he made some big time throws. Now, there's a team that is very much based on the fact that they dominate on first down. And first down domination is the result of being in control of games, close enough that you can do what you want to do on first down. Jones had the most first down passing yardage in the league. Jonathan Taylor is among the league leaders in first down rushing yardage. They dominate on first down. And when you can't do that, the game changes. And then when you have to drop back on every single play, as they did, every play in the fourth quarter last week was a pass, 26 plays. And as you probably saw, their two tackles in that game did not play well in one-on-one pass protection when they were asked to block one-on-one against Watt and Highsmith. So they had a very difficult game. But I think the nature of the Colts offense is such that if they can stay within the game, that they're very, very good. Darnold, he's another guy. He's really good in specific ways. Every quarterback, for the most part, Ross, has defined strengths and then certain limitations. That's just true with every quarterback, even great ones. Okay. So Darnold is really good as a play action quarterback. The reads are more defined. He pushes it down the field as well as any quarterback in the league. Now they have Shaheed. That's only going to help in that regard. Darnold is better in that kind of offense than he is, let's say, in the shotgun offense, sitting back there being asked to scan the field. So if all of a sudden they get down big and he's asked to do that, he may not look as good because that's not what he does as well as play in an under center play action game where they can control the pace and tempo of the game more so.
Greg, our producer here is Paulie Pabst, and he's a diehard Bears fan. So you talked about Bo Nix, you talked about Drake May. I think he'd be upset if I didn't get your evaluation of Caleb Williams, the number one pick in last year's draft. Where are you, and what are you seeing on the tape with Caleb Williams so far this year in Ben Johnson's offense?
Yeah, I think it's been a work in progress, and I totally expected that. It's a very difficult offense, just starting with the operational perspective, Ross, and you know what I mean by that, where, calling the play in the huddle, where there might be two plays called, then there's alerts. Then you want to have enough time when you get to the line of scrimmage because that offense features shifts and motions. Then you want to have Williams be able to sort of research the defense. So the operational part was something he really struggled with as a rookie under a different coaching staff, but then he had to learn that this year. I would say that last week, in the game last week, now, and again, this is not relevant to me that Cincinnati doesn't have a good defense, but I thought you saw a lot more of the Ben Johnson pass game concepts come to fruition. And I thought that there were times Williams looked really good executing those. Now, there are still times, because it will be a work in progress, where he was a beat slow with his reads and did not get to throws that were there. There are times there's a little bit of an unfocused, frenetic nature to him, to his pocket play. That's his next step in his continued development. But I got to tell you, this guy throws the ball. It's crazy the way he throws the ball. And when you talk about throwing the ball on the move, I mean, this guy has an absolute power hose when he throws the ball on the move. I don't know if I've seen anybody throw with that kind of velocity, even Aaron Rodgers in his prime, with that kind of velocity on the move.
Check him out on social media at Greg Cosell, and check him out every week on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Thursday or Friday. A lot more hardcore football talk where that came from. Greg, thank you so much for the time here on the Dan Patrick Show. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Ross. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome to talk with Greg. I am very curious to hear how Paulie feels about what Greg just said, because that's another one. You could have taken what Greg said and you could go, hey, I loved what he had to say, or you could be negative and take it the other way. We got the play of the day. We got Paulie's reaction to the Caleb Williams breakdown. I'm going to check my social media mentions at Ross Tucker NFL because I want to know, I know what the poll question is, but I want to know your specific favorite mustard. Is there a brand? Greg Cosell just called out golden spicy brown. If you have a name brand mustard, I'd love to hear about it at Ross Tucker NFL. 877-3DP show. Probably getting to one of your calls when we come back. It is 41 minutes past the hour here on the Dan Patrick Show.